Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that a lot of the best coaches out there realize is going to be a point of controversy, of course. And this is what the scientific data shows. It's what the scientific data shows. And when I say this, I don't want to remove the fact that the quads are a primary mover in the squat, right? No one is denying that. Uh, and for many people, pretty much maximum quad development can be built off of squatting, right? For many people, depending upon your structure. However, that isn't to say that some people do need supplemental work, because they absolutely do. And what I have generally found is that is largely related to femur length. It's been my experience that quite a few coaches that generally the people who need additional quad work beyond squatting to really get their quads bigger tend to be longer femur people. People with shorter femurs like me, for me, I have a long torso, long arms, short legs, right? That's my ratios. Also makes me good at squatting. But, those people need extra quad work. So when we look at it from this perspective, though, what does this mean for what we need to be thinking about for building our squat? Well, if we look at the data, and we know that the only real study that looked at all the hypertrophy of every muscle involved, right, on a squat only program, it found that the adductors and glutes grew the most and the quads grew a little bit less. Okay. And what I need to clarify before someone chimes in, that was with Olympic style squatting, right? That was with a normal shoulder width high bar squat. That was not power squatting. Now, people get this idea that when we go wider that the quads work less, and that's not the case. If the quads work less, we wouldn't all be so damn strong, for those of us who are good at wide stance squatting. Okay, the quads don't work less. In fact, the amount of knee bend seems to be the biggest factor in quad stimulation and quad use on a squat. Now, that being said, of course, we can get a little less knee bend with a power squat and still break parallel, which is important for powerlifting purposes. But that also means that for the majority of people, if they seem to be slightly quad weak, it may be because their stance is too narrow, right? When you see the true good morning squat, and people don't understand what a good morning squat is, they confuse any hip drive with a good morning squat. Good morning squat is when the bar drifts in front of your midfoot when the hips shoot up. Okay, all right, get that out of the way. But that's usually the sign of quad weakness. How much of that can go away for a lot of lifters if they just go out wider? It's not because their quads were too weak. It's because they're not using the other muscles enough. Quads are having to take a larger brunt of the load. So if we really want to talk about building the biggest squat possible, instead of looking at it and saying, hey, what muscles does a squat build? We need to start asking, what muscles do we need to build to bring up the squat? And glutes seem to be, again, largely dependent upon depth. Depth of the hip angle, though, not depth of the knee angle. So if we're doing a power squat, if we're real right stance, we already know the glutes are going to hit just as much work, if not more, because of the hip angle involved, right? If we bring more glute into the equation. Well, glutes already grow more than quads from Olympic style squats. According to the data, the only real data we have on it shows that. So in that case, glutes become a very, very big deal. They become a real big deal. All right. But what about adductors? Well, if we're going out wider, and for most of us, if our hip structure allows for it, wider is going to allow us to lift the most weight. It's going to let us put up the biggest weights. We get even more adductor involved, right? The quad isn't de-emphasized unless the knee angle changes, but we're bringing other muscles in. And those adductors, when you look at the fact that the adductor got just slightly more growth than anything else, even on an Olympic squat, what does that tell us about a power squat where we go even wider and biomechanically it becomes even more important? Okay. That's what's required to get that external rotation to the knee also when we have that wide stance to drive through our sticking point. It's adductor. The adductor is what's going to drive us through our sticking point. It's going to create the best bar path. It's going to get that knee angle where we want it. So what I'm suggesting is adductors need a lot of work. This is why we need to do really wide stance work. Right? So how do we then build adductors? Well, we could do single leg exercises. That'll certainly help if we get a deep angle on them. Right? Use that adductor. How about the belt squat? The belt squat, because of our ability to get way out wide, put no strain on the back, we can get into a deep low bar type position of, again, a hip dominant and an adductor dominant position without any stress on our back. All right, that allows us to put some hypertrophy on. How about a leg press? If you do them real wide, a leg press will give us more adductors. All right, a leg press will give us more adductor. All right, we have options. How about a hack squat machine? As long as the base is wide enough to get us out wide. Okay. You could even do sumo box deadlifts. Or sumo chair deadlifts would help. Again, people with limited equipment, you get on the end of a bench and do really wide sumos that way. That's also an option. That's an option. Okay. What about for the glutes? Well, any of these deep positions will help. How about doing more good mornings? Good mornings, Romanian deadlifts. Any of those, I'm very partial to the good morning. All right. We could adjust those based upon our needs too. We could adjust stance as needed. All right. Good mornings will also help you drive through and keep that chest up when you hit that sticking point. But again, hip extension. We need to be thinking in terms of hip extension. Things like good mornings, RDLs, reverse hypers. All right. That's where our real work needs to be. That's where our real work needs to be. I would even say, again, especially for the longer leg guys, if nothing else, high rep goblet squats with dumbbells done deep. Build those glutes and adductors. Build the glutes and adductors. That is the key to a big squat. It's the key to a big squat. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.